Snow fell softly outside the small roadside diner, covering the empty highway in a thick white blanket. Christmas lights flickered weakly in the window, casting a warm glow inside, though the night itself felt heavy and cold. Lily tied her apron tighter as she moved between tables, the smell of coffee and fried food filling the air. Business had been slow all evening, as most families were already home, celebrating with loved ones. That was when Lily noticed them. An elderly couple sat quietly in the far corner booth, almost blending into the shadows. Their coats were old and thin, clearly not meant for such bitter weather. The man kept his hands wrapped tightly around a chipped mug of coffee as if it were the only thing keeping him warm. The woman sat close beside him, her shoulders slightly hunched, her eyes moving carefully across the menu. They spoke in hushed whispers, glancing at the prices more than the food itself. Lily slowed her steps as she passed their table. Years of working in the diner had taught her how to recognize hunger and worry without a single word being spoken. As she refilled the sugar jars nearby, she overheard the soft clinking sound of coins. The man gently poured a few onto the table, counting them twice, his voice barely audible. The woman nodded, forcing a small smile, though her eyes carried a quiet sadness. Something tightened in Lily's chest. She thought of the warm meals waiting for her back home and the simple joys people often took for granted, especially on Christmas Eve. Taking a deep breath, she walked over to their booth with her brightest smile, as if nothing were wrong at all. "Good evening," Lily said warmly. "Take your time looking at the menu. Tonight's special is really good." The couple looked up, surprised by her kindness. The woman hesitated before asking for just a bowl of soup. Lily noticed the way her hands trembled slightly as she spoke. Before they could say more, Lily gently shook her head and leaned in closer. "Please," she said softly, her voice full of sincerity. "Order anything you like. It's a cold night and everyone deserves a warm meal on Christmas Eve." The couple exchanged uncertain glances, clearly uncomfortable but deeply touched. Lily gave them one last reassuring smile before walking away, unaware that this small moment of compassion was about to change her life forever. When Lily returned to the table a few minutes later, she noticed the elderly couple still studying the menu, whispering to one another as if trying to make a difficult decision. Finally, the man looked up and spoke in a polite but hesitant voice. "We'll just have one soup," he said, sliding the menu back toward her. "And 2 spoons, please." Lily nodded, hiding the ache she felt in her chest. She had seen this before, people stretching a single meal, pretending it was enough. "Of course," she replied gently. "I'll bring it right out." As she walked toward the kitchen, Lily couldn't shake the image of their thin coats and trembling hands. Christmas Eve was supposed to be about warmth, about giving, not about counting coins and sharing soup to survive. While the cook ladled the soup into a bowl, Lily quietly made a decision. She grabbed 2 clean plates, fresh bread from the warmer, and asked the cook to prepare a full hot meal as well. He raised an eyebrow, but Lily simply smiled and said, "It's on me." She carried the tray back to the table, carefully placing the soup in front of them. But she didn't stop there. One by one, she set down the warm bread, a hearty plate of food, and 2 steaming cups of tea. The rich smell of the meal filled the air between them. The woman's eyes widened in surprise. "Oh no, dear," she said quickly, shaking her head. "We didn't order all this. There must be a mistake." The man pushed the plate back slightly. "We can't afford this," he added, his voice filled with embarrassment rather than refusal. Lily leaned closer, lowering her voice so only they could hear. Her smile was soft, but her eyes were firm with kindness. "It's not a mistake," she said gently. "It's Christmas. Please let me do this." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The woman's lips trembled and she reached for her husband's hand. Slowly, tears welled up in their eyes, tears not just of hunger but of being seen, of being treated with dignity. "Thank you," the woman whispered. "You have no idea how much this means to us." As they ate, Lily watched from behind the counter. The couple moved slowly, savoring every bite, their shoulders relaxing for the first time since they had arrived. In that simple act, warm food, gentle words, and a caring heart, Lily unknowingly gave them something far greater than a meal: hope, comfort, and a reminder that kindness still existed in the world. The diner grew quieter as the elderly couple finished their meal. Outside, the snow continued to fall, covering the ground in a soft, glowing white beneath the streetlights. Lily noticed how different they looked now, warmer, calmer, as if the simple act of eating had eased more than just their hunger. The woman folded her napkin carefully, while the man took a final sip of his tea, letting out a slow, contented breath. When Lily approached their table to clear the dishes, the old man stood up slowly. His movements were careful but deliberate. Before Lily could speak, he gently took her hands in his grip surprisingly firm despite his age. His eyes, kind and thoughtful, met hers. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Not just for the food, but for the way you treated us tonight." Lily felt her throat tighten. She wasn't used to being thanked like this. "It was nothing," she replied softly. "I'm just glad you're warm and fed." The woman reached into her coat pocket and smiled warmly. "Kindness like yours is rare," she said. "Please never lose it." As Lily turned briefly to fetch their coats from the rack, the man quietly placed something on the table, a small, neatly folded note. He didn't draw attention to it, nor did he explain. When Lily returned, the couple was already heading toward the door, bundled up and ready to face the cold again. "Have a Merry Christmas," Lily called out, lifting her hand in a cheerful wave. They paused for a moment at the doorway. The man turned back, offering a gentle nod, while the woman gave one last grateful smile. Then the door swung open, letting in a rush of icy air, and they disappeared into the softly falling snow. Lily watched through the window as their figures grew smaller, eventually fading into the white night. She felt a strange mix of warmth and sadness, wondering where they would go next and hoping they would be safe. Returning to the table, she noticed the folded note lying beside the empty cups. Assuming it was a small thank you message or perhaps a few kind words, Lily slipped it into her apron without opening it. She didn't think much of it. After all, she hadn't helped them for recognition or reward. As she wiped down the table, Lily had no idea that this quiet goodbye, this fleeting encounter on a cold Christmas Eve, was only the beginning of something far greater than she could ever imagine. Christmas morning arrived quietly, wrapped in pale sunlight and fresh snow. Lily woke early, still tired from the long shift the night before, yet feeling strangely peaceful. The memory of the elderly couple lingered in her mind, their gentle voices, grateful smiles, and the way the man had held her hands as if her kindness meant more than words could express. She smiled to herself, hoping they were warm and safe somewhere. Later that morning, Lily stopped by the diner before heading home for Christmas lunch. As she pushed open the door, she sensed something was different. Her manager stood behind the counter, staring at his phone in disbelief, while a few coworkers whispered excitedly nearby. "Lily," he called out, his voice shaking, "you need to see this." Confused, Lily walked over. Her manager handed her a printed email and a sealed envelope. The email explained that the diner's long-standing debts had been paid in full, every bill, every loan completely cleared. The payment had been made anonymously, with instructions that the staff be told it was a Christmas gift. Before Lily could speak, her manager added, "The note says it was done because of you." Her hands trembled as she opened the envelope. Inside was the same folded note the old man had left on the table. This time it contained more than a few words. It was an invitation written with care, explaining the truth. The elderly couple were not struggling travelers at all, but billionaires who spent their later years traveling quietly, disguising themselves to find genuine kindness in a world that often judged by appearance. The letter praised Lily's compassion, her dignity, and her selfless heart. Along with it was information about a full scholarship covering education, housing, and living expenses should Lily wish to pursue her long-held dream of a better future. Tears streamed down her face as she read the final message. "Your kindness fed more than our hunger, it restored our faith in humanity." Lily stood there, overwhelmed. She hadn't helped them for recognition, reward, or miracles. She had simply followed her heart on a cold Christmas Eve. Now that small act of love had returned to her in a way she never imagined. As snow continued to fall outside, Lily realized something even more powerful than the gift she received: the understanding that true kindness, no matter how small, has the power to change lives forever. Christmas sparkles.